Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order and turn the meeting over to Senior Councilor John Daniel.
Good evening. We're here, excuse me, on Monday, July 10th, 2023 at 7 p.m. for the reorganizational meeting of the 49th seating of the Town Council of Southbridge. We're here in Council Chambers. Meeting has been called to order. First order of business would be Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She's watching from home.
Okay. Item number 4 on the agenda is the swearing in of councilors-elect by Town Clerk Maddie Bonadies.
Could I please have Councilor Dow, Councilor Chenier, and Councilor Ortiz? Either way. Do you, George P. Chenier, solemnly swear to perform all duties incumbent on you as a council for the town of Southbridge until June 30th, 2026, faithfully and impartially according to the laws of the Commonwealth and abide by the charter and bylaws of the town of Southbridge? So help you God. I just need to sign here. I'm going to give you the council on the conflict of interest and the open meeting law. If you would just sign right there, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. I am going to adjourn. Thank you. Congratulations. Councilor Dow, CV.
It's working.
You, Joseph Dow, solemnly swear to perform all duties incumbent of you as a town council for the town of Southbridge until June 30th, 2026, faithfully and impartially according to the laws of the Commonwealth and abide by the charter and bylaws of the town of Southbridge. So help you God.
I do.
I just need you to sign right here. I'm going to give you the open meeting law on the conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Very much. Congratulations. Last but not least. You, Ariel Ortiz, solemnly swear to perform all duties incumbent of you as a town council for the town of Southbridge until June 30th, 2026, faithfully and impartially according to the laws of the Commonwealth and abide by the charter and bylaws of the town of Southbridge. So help you God.
I do.
I just need you to sign right here.
Thank you.
Very good. Item number 5 is the invocation being done this evening by the Reverend Sabina Terradas of the First Methodist Church of Southbridge. Pastor Sabrina.
Good evening. Will you bow your heads as I pray or not, as you feel comfortable? Dear wise and loving Creator, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing important responsibilities. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. And thank you for loving us even so, from your boundless and gracious nature. Today I pray for our town manager, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I am asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a true understanding of the welfare and real needs of our people, a thirst for justice, confidence in what is good and appropriate, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them today, I pray for the staff working in the background to make things happen. Finally, I pray for the town of Southbridge for revival, for renewed prosperity and happiness for all its people, for the end of homelessness, unemployment, addictions, and anything that hurts its constituents. I pray for all of this in your most blessed name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Terradas. Okay, item number 6. Roll call, Sue.
Councillor Adams?
Present.
Councillor Chenier? Present. Councillor Daniel?
Present.
Councillor Dow?
Present.
Councillor Lazo?
Present.
Councillor Marchetti?
Present.
Councillor Montigny?
Present.
Councillor Ortiz?
Present.
Councillor Rivas?
Present.
Very good, we have 9 present. Item number 7 is election of permanent chairperson. Nominations are now in order for the office of chairperson of the town council. Council Montigny.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion for the chairman of Southbridge Town Council to be Councilor Scott S. Lazo.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Council Montigny, a second by Councilor Ortiz to nominate Councilman Scott Lazo for the chair. Are there any further nominations for chairperson? Discuss. Councilor Rivas.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Adams.
May I say something?
Councilor Adams.
I appreciate it, Counselor, but this year I don't plan on seeking any besides chair of a subcommittee. But I appreciate that, and thank you for the kindness.
Thank you.
Humbled.
Councilman Montigny.
Yeah, just a quick discussion. I just wanted to say it's been an honor to serve my first year as town councilor under Councilor Daniels and Adams as chairman. But at the start of the second year of my 3-year elected term, I'm humbled to be able to make the motion again for Councilor Lazo to be the chairman. And with that motion being seconded by Councilor Ortiz, you know, we're a witness tonight to pure democracy and the true reflections of the desires of the voters of the town of Southbridge and what they want. And I think that we can all, as I said last year, become better counselors, and we can learn from experience. And I'm very honored to be a part of this town council with all of you tonight. Thank you.
Are there any further nominations for chairperson? If not, nominations are now closed. There being only one nominee for the office of chairperson of the town council, the nominee, Councilor Scott Lazo, is hereby elected.
I would just like to say thank you to my fellow councilors. Special thanks to Mike Montigny and Ari Ortiz for nomination and second, and the confidence that you believe that I should hold this position. As a chairman, it's a big responsibility, and that's why I have to say thank you to John Daniels for the 2 years that he dedicated to this town as the chairman. You usually lose a chunk of your life when you become the chairman because you're at the town hall, you're with the town manager, you're everywhere all the time. And John, I want to thank you very much for your 2 years of service. You did a great job. I'd like to thank Dave Adams also. He's an Energizer Bunny of the Southbridge Town Council. He is a gentleman that has, I can't even count the committees and the hours he puts in. Thank you very much. And moving forward, I think we have to keep in mind, we must build on what we built in the last 5 years. We put some foundations in and some basics, and there's a lot of follow through, a lot of political accomplishments happen under this year. But it was Jack Jovan, it was Dave Adams, it was Joe Dow, all the councilors that pushed to get these roads and the town hall fixed and stuff. It's just the beginning. This is still going to be a great council as it was last year. It's not going to be personal. It's going to be all about the people. What we have to do is look at our citizens and treat them like customers in a business. They are the MVP. We must serve them with dignity, with happiness, with a smile. And I think that's where we're going to be headed as councilors. And I think we have to carry that message. If we're going to lead, that's the message we have to lead going forward. I thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to go to agenda item number 8, the election of the vice chairperson. Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Councilor Mike Marquetti for vice chair.
We have a nomination for Mike Marquetti for vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
Seconded by George Shinya. Any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any nominations? If not, you are now the vice chairman.
Thank you. So, first of all, I'd like to thank the councilors for nominating me and electing me for vice chairman. You know, I've been on the council for 4 years, and I pretty much have attended every single subcommittee that there is, and I've served on several ad hoc subcommittees as well. I'm retired, I have a lot of time, I do my homework, and I ask a lot of questions. And the reason why I want to be the vice chair is because I have a lot of residents in town who've asked me that they want the roads fixed. They want the roads and sidewalks fixed. And they're not too happy about the taxes either, but what they're saying is that they think we can do all the things that we need without overtaxing them, and I happen to agree with them. I think there's a lot of surplus that we'd like to take a look at. I'm a fiscal conservative, but I do realize there are some vital services that we provide that need to be paid for. So going forward, I'm really looking forward to working with Councilor Lazo because I know he agrees with me on this. Let's get moving on and move Southbridge forward. Thank you very much.
At this time, on agenda item number 9, adoption of the permanent seating arrangement. Newly elected chairman will direct this procedure.
If you could all just come forward. Just go alphabetically. That's right. Their names are over here. All right. Councilor Adams? Councilor Adams has picked seat number 3. You're welcome. Councilor Chenier? Councilor Chenier has picked seat number 5. Councilor Daniel? Councilor Daniel has picked seat number 1. Councilor Dow? Councilor Dow has picked seat number 6. Councilor Montigny? Councilor Montigny has picked seat number 4. Councilor Ortiz? Councilor Ortiz has picked seat number 2. That way. And last but not least, Councilor Rivas. Councilor Rivas has picked seat number 7. Next to the photos.
He's sitting next to me. Look, he's sitting next to me.
I know. Councilors, the seats have been assigned. Be seated. Agenda item number 10, adjournment.
Jim?
You mind if I replace the American flag on the front of the Great Council?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Joe Dow for donating American flags. He's a very passionate gentleman. At this time, we'll move on to agenda item number 10, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
There's a motion, second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous vote present. We'll adjourn for 5 minutes. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Southbridge Town Council meeting, Monday, July 10th, 2023, 7 p.m. Or immediately following the 7 p.m. reorg meeting in the McKinnon McKinnon Council Chamber. Agenda item number 1, the Pledge of Allegiance. Moving on to agenda item number 3, consider and accept the town council meeting minutes. Oh, that's right, sorry. Roll call for us.
Chairman
Madam
Lazo?
Secretary.
Chairman Lazo?
Present.
Vice Chair Marchetti?
Present.
Councilor Daniel?
Present.
Councilor Adams?
Present.
Councilor Shanier?
Present.
Councilor Dow?
Present.
Councilor Montigny?
Present.
Councilor Ortiz?
Present.
Councilor Rivas?
Present.
We have a quorum. Moving on to agenda item number 3, consider and accept the town council meeting minutes, Monday, June 26th, 2022.
So moved.
We
Second.
have motion by Adams, seconded by Montigny. Council Montigny.
Thank you. Can we just amend really quick to make this say 2023? I'd like to make a motion to amend this to say June 26, 2023.
There's an amendment.
Second.
There's a motion. and
I'm
a sec-
sorry. Is it correct on there?
That's what I have.
On the agenda that I have from the email, it says 2022.
Mine says 22 too.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sounds like
Okay.
There's an amendment on the floor
Second?
Second.
and a second by Dow. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes have been amended. Any other discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor? Opposed?
I'm sorry, I was supposed to amend to that?
No.
Two abstentions.
I abstain, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Two
vote.
abstentions.
Not necessary.
Councilor Shinya and Councilor Ortiz abstain. Moving on to agenda item number 4, subcommittee reports. Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. We haven't had any meetings, and the next meeting will be under the next subcommittee chairman. Thank you.
Education and Services. Councilor
Yeah.
Montigny.
Thank you. Again, we haven't had any meetings either, and this will be under the next chairman. Thank you.
Moving on to General Government. No report at this time. Planning and Development.
Nothing to report. Oh, except I would state tonight, we do have an agenda item here that I asked to move right to the town council, vice to go to subcommittee, because it is a time-sensitive matter, and we did not have a meeting while I was on vacation. Thank you.
Moving on to Protections of Persons and Property. I have no report at this time. Moving on to Chairman's announcements. I would just like to thank the citizens of Southbridge in the past election, and I'd like to thank the councilors today to allow me to be the chairman of this council. And moving forward, what I've done is I went into the front office. I'm one of these elected officials that wants to move forward and work on what we have to work on and not delay. At the same time, I want to be deliberate in our approach so we don't stumble over our own feet, so to speak. What I'm going to hand out is it's the councilors' phone numbers, town council fall meetings, all the meetings for the rest of the year, and the holidays for the town hall that are closed. If we could just hand those out. Let me see. That's the one, is it? Yeah. At the same time, what I did, and this is a little aggressive, but it's the way it's going to be going forward. I'd like to get to work on subcommittees and stuff. What I have is, I have the town councilors' phone numbers in their office. I also have the DPW, Education and Services, General Government, Planning and Development, and Protections of Persons and Property. I went and spoke to the councilors on what they're interested in. They told me what they were interested in as chairman and where they would like to land. And I think what I've done is put together the subcommittee so they can go to work immediately. I will read it off for the public. DPW, Chairman Dave Adams, George Shinya as a member, John Daniels as a member. Education and Services, Jasmine Rivas as chairman, Michael Montigny as a member, Ariel Ortiz as a member. General Government, Mike Montigny as chair, Joe Dow as a council member, Mike Montigny as a council, Mike Marchetti. Yeah, there is a difference. Mike Marchetti, council member. Moving on to Planning and Development, Chairman John Daniels, Dave Adams as a council member, Jasmine Rivas as a council member. Protections of Persons and Property, George Shinya as chairman, Joe Dow as a council member, and Ariel Ortiz as a council member. At the next meeting, we'll be working on, the next thing is the citizen members to these subcommittees.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on the paperwork that you passed out, I just want to let everybody know that the phone number that I have there was a phone number from 10 years ago. And I'll have the front office email my phone number to all the councils.
Thank you. I'd just like to take a moment. It's kind of a nostalgic moment for me because I've sat in this chair before. I've been involved in Southbridge politics for quite a while. I remember coming out of high school and hanging signs for Edgar McCann and Bob McKinnon. Bob McKinnon was a big guy, and they named the council chamber after him. My father donated this gavel to Bob McKinnon and Southbridge Town Council because he said he needed a big hammer to take care of the 13-member council. So as I sit here and reflect on some of the older councilors that impacted me as a young councilor, and now I sit here on the backside of the hill age-wise, and I look around and I see this council, and I'm excited. I'm excited because of the past 5 councils I've served on. They've been outstanding gentlemen, and they've put forward a non-personal approach, good, healthy floor fights. My good friend, Dave Adams and I, we call it passion. A lot of people would probably say it's something else. But when a councilor really believes and fights on a floor fight on an issue, sometimes they get a little excited. And that's why we have the big hammer. But I'm sure that with all due respect, that we'll continue to work hand in hand, building on what has been put forward in the last 5 years that I've been involved in. I know that a lot of stuff has been put into the chute and has been accomplished, and still there's a lot of incompleted projects. The rail trail is one of them. And it's constantly the fire station, the roads. When I got on council, roads became a priority because Dave Adams, John Daniels, you can go back to Jack Jovan was on. We just turned around and said enough is enough. And we got together and found ways to try and finance it. There's still a big job ahead. We have a lot of roads to do and not a lot of money to do it with, but we will find a way to do it. I also want to empower the subcommittees. The subcommittees in past years has been basically gutted out over the operations on how we did things. If the subcommittee votes a negative vote, it would go to council with a negative recommendation, and it would just go in the direction that they wanted to go in. From now on, nothing goes on the agenda that did not pass muster at subcommittee. That's just going back to when I was on the council back in the 80s. I don't know when it changed, but that's why subcommittee was so strong. I also was going to move as chairman to abolish the capital committee. It's another layer of bureaucracy. I think we need the subcommittees to do that with the manager on the capital improvement. What I'd like to do as a chairman is just direct the traffic of the committee members and try and lend advice and also take advice from my membership. They put me here. I didn't put me here. So I think moving forward, we're going to have a mutual agreement that we're going to disagree. But then once the issue is finalized, let's move on. As I always say, it's in the rearview mirror. So going forward, I'm looking forward to a good year. Straightforward, we got a lot of work ahead. Everybody knows what we have ahead because we live here. And I live here my whole life. And everybody knows how much I love my town. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it a better town, to bring it back to that all-American city we used to be. I'd like to thank you for your time. Moving on to presentations. I got one presentation tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped you, Charlie. Town manager?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I do have a few announcements tonight. The first is on the yard waste drop-off at the DPW yard. 185 Gulfwood Road has opened for the season on April 17th. It will remain open until November 26th, weather permitting. Commercial yard waste will not be accepted. Place leaves and paper bags available at your local hardware stores. No plastic bags, please. No sand, no dirt in bags. Brush must not exceed 4 feet in length and be not more than 4 inches in diameter. Home compost bins are available at the Southbridge Health Department for Southbridge residents for a limited time at the reduced price of $25. The cost of bins is subsidized by a Mass DEP Recycling Dividends Program grant. The thinkreduce.com, visit thinkreduce.com for information on composting. The Jacob Edwards Library is another great resource for composting information. Happy gardening. The Great American Rain Barrel program offered through the Southbridge Health Department is going very well again this year. $25 for Southbridge residents, 45% off retail. The barrels are subsidized by the Mass DEP Recycling Dividends Program grant as well. On recycling, recycling is mandatory for all Southbridge residents and businesses. In order to promote waste reduction, comply with Massachusetts state-mandated waste bins, 310 CMR 19.017, and further the goals of the town of Southbridge, mandatory recycling regulations were promulgated under the provisions of Chapter 111, Sections 31, 31A, 31B, 122, and 150A of the Massachusetts General Laws. The Town of Southbridge Board of Health Code of Regulations, Chapter 2, Paragraph 5.21 and 6.12 states, recycling of paper, cardboard, glass bottles, cans, and all single polymer plastics is mandatory. Beginning on November 1st, 2022, textiles were banned from disposal in Massachusetts. Textiles include dry cleaning, clean or dry clothing, footwear, bedding, towels, curtains, fabric, and other similar products. Place textiles in one of the convenient collection boxes throughout town, and visit our website, Board of Health, for more information on a list of drop boxes. Please do not put textiles in the trash or recycling totes. I also have one other announcement. The animal control shelter general contract bids will be are due on Thursday, July 13th. I know the last time I had reported it was going to be on the 5th. We did get some requests for more information from some of the general contractors, so we issued an addendum I think it went out on Monday, so that bids will be due on July 13th. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to presentations, agenda item number 7. A, Dave Adams, Town Manager Search Committee, update. Dave?
Good evening, everybody. Mr. Chair, Mr. Town Manager, Vice Chair, councilors, residents of Southbridge, those on cable access. I only have about 4 hours of speaking up here today, so I'll get it started.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, no, I already got it. That's fine. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the paperwork I just handed to the councilors, I ask that you keep that to yourselves and not share that with anybody, because there is personal information on there that shouldn't be readily available to those that are not going to be voting for the town manager this Wednesday. So I just want to, it's been a long time coming. I appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll spend about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes up here. I'll move along as quickly as I possibly can, but if you have any questions, please ask them. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to the counselor and the citizen members who made up the Town Manager Search Committee. That included myself, Councilor Rivas, Ms. Hernandez, Colonesi, and Mr. Canoyer. And I appreciate your time and your effort to your community and the work that we did, hopefully coming up with three very good candidates for you to interview. These are some of the meeting dates that we had, starting off in January, basic conversation to have, and then all the way down to July 12th, which will be this Wednesday, where we'll be interviewing 3 finalists. So during our conversations, our open meetings, we talked about the mission of what our committee was going to be doing. Obviously, we're following the town charter 4-1-2, the hiring process and how that worked, and to discuss and voted town manager search, an RFP, what it would look like. And we got that done pretty quickly in the first 2 weeks, and I want to thank the town manager for helping us move along with that. Without your help at that critical time, I'm not sure we'd be here today at this point. Oops. So just trying to move fast. All right. We ultimately hired Gru White. There were 3 total RFPs, and so Gru White is the one, when we opened it up, who won the vote and had the bid. So Gru White reached out to the town council, community leaders, professional staff, and provided professional synthesis. So their responsibility, Rick White, his responsibility was to reach out to all these people and kind of get their take on what they're looking for as a town manager. Reached out to the community as well. They also provided marketing brochures and an advertisement. He also provided questions to be used by the town manager search committee during our interviews itself. Total, we had 16 applicants. At the end, there were about 8 qualified individuals for our town. One ultimately dropped out while we were still going through the process, so that kind of left us with 7. And then provided and completed reference checks. That was their responsibility, and you'll meet him on Wednesday evening. He'll sit right here for about 5 minutes to answer any questions you counselors may have, or not, and move along so we can interview the individuals. The committee itself had 3 executive sessions where we interviewed a total of 7 candidates, and our questions to them ranged from our schools to finances, and our type of government, because a lot of those individuals had been part of select boards. It's a little different beast over here. So we went ahead and made sure that they are aware of what they can expect. And it was a total of 8 questions we had, but it ended up being more like 10, 15 questions. We questioned on top of a question. If something caught our mind, we went ahead and asked that question to follow up on. Very good candidates. I must say, out of the 7, very good candidates. But I tell you what, there were 3 that really topped what we were looking for. And ultimately, tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll have these individuals: John D. Jovan, Michael Slozik, and Thomas M. Guillermo. Now, what I did was I quickly put together a couple slides for each one of them. And they're what we call overachievers. And so it was pretty hard to change. I had to change the size on the font or the size of the lettering multiple times to be able to fit all this information on here. Under Mr. Jovan, his experience, both professionally and municipality-wise, his job background goes from insurance investigator all the way to a police chief. And I put down ×2 because it was 2 different locations. And also as a general manager. He was part of the Southbridge Town Council 2018 to 22, which was elected. Also the school committee from 2003 to 2012 as an elected individual, and then 2002 was appointed, and 2015 is appointed. And pretty much everybody else can read the rest of this all the way through. From being on the current Receiver Advisory Council to being the Emergency Management Director over in Holland. Very qualified individual. And his education comes from Assumption College, where he has a bachelor's degree for social science and psychology, and then also he has just been accepted into Liberty University for a master's in public administration as well. See if anybody had any questions for me before I move on. Very well. Michael Slozik, he'll be the second one interviewed on Wednesday night. His experience goes all the way from a town manager, town administrator ×2 different towns, to an adjunct professor of business law and legal research from the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. And I wouldn't say he studied municipal law, but these are his expertise: is municipal law, land use, zoning, budgeting, contract negotiations, HR, all the way down where he volunteered his time as the town moderator in Ludlow, to the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, Finance Committee, and Senior Center Building Committee. His education: Juris Doctor from Boston University of Law, a Master's Business Administration and Finance, and the bachelor's degree from which is in English Literature from the University of Massachusetts. Any questions on that individual? Lastly, Thomas M. Guillermo. Obviously, all 3 of these are very qualified. Mike as well. Thomas, you might have met Thomas about 3 years ago, I believe it was. He was on our last search. He came in second at for the votes. But Thomas is here applying once again. And he was the executive director, or he is currently the executive director of Housing Authority at one of the local towns, consultant to the town administrator, he's been an interim town administrator, interim municipal manager, executive director of Massachusetts Rural Development Council, consultant to Pittsfield, and again, Massachusetts Municipal Consulting Group. And then he also has played into, he was the, Municipal Manager, Economic Development Director for Rockingham and Bellows Falls Village. all the way down to, he's part of the Town of Greenfield's Preservation Committee, Cape Cod Regional Transportation Authority, Future Connector Executive Task Force, Canal Bridges Task Force in Bourne. He was a town administrator in Bourne for 14 years. And so, any questions on that individual and his education as well? University of Southern Maine, where he has his Bachelor's of Arts, Associate's degree in Liberal Arts, Greenfield Community College, partner for results. These are some, besides his education, some other education that he had received, and I pulled these extensively off their resumes. And extensive professional development coursework and seminar training facilitations through ADA, the ADA Act itself. Questions?
Are there any questions? I'd just like to take a moment to thank you, Dave. Good presentation. As usual, job well done.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I just want to say it probably wasn't as thorough as Councilor Daniels a few years back, but it's hot up here. So, thanks. And just to the residents, if you have any questions on these individuals, all the counselors up here have their resumes. The only thing that will not be provided is what I provided this evening to the counselors themselves, but they do have their resumes and a few other things if you end up wanting to look at it.
Thank you. Moving on to Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens would like to speak to any issue that's not on the agenda tonight? State your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Yelitza Agosto, and I reside at 55 Gulf Street. First and foremost, I want to thank the former town councilors for their service and their commitment to the residents of Southbridge. I also want to congratulate the new members of our town council. And it is my hope that we continue to do the work that has already begun. I have a quick statement I prepared, and I hope you're patient with me as I read it. I'll be brief, I promise. As many of you may already know, I stood here on June 5th and spoke in regards to mismanagement of funds raised by the Southbridge High School class of 23 and the lack of transparency on behalf of the district's Director of Operations, the Athletic Director, and ultimately the receiver, Dr. Jeffrey Villar. I stand before you tonight once again and ask, where is the money? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but the new fiscal year has already begun. And as you may already guessed it, not one single student that paid full price for their cap and gown was reimbursed even a dime from the over $1,300 in our account as promised. Furthermore, seniors were not given a cookout nor any other field day festivities promised with that $1,300 overage in their treasury. So once again, where's the money? And better yet, where is it going now that those seniors have graduated? I'm here tonight to inform the public I was responsible for a Facebook post that went up on May 28th regarding why the Southbridge alumni rescinded their $700 donation going towards the class. In my post, I stated I emailed the Director of Operations and was very transparent about the Southbridge alumni having zero confidence that the class of 23 would be reimbursed after paying full price for their cap and gown. Side note, when I resigned from my position, I never said that I would resign from continuing the work to work with my students and their families. So by now, I'm sure this administration thought the dust has settled. The seniors have graduated, summer has begun, and everybody probably forgot about what I've stated before I left. Well, I'm here to let this administration know I'm not going anywhere. I'm a resident of this town. I absolutely love this town. I love the kids, and I will continue to fight for these kids. What happened to the senior class is wrong and perhaps illegal. In the wise words of Town Councilor Dave Adam, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's something shady happening with the mismanagement of funds with the school district. How is it that there's money to appropriate for $10,000 sign-in bonuses, yet as a public school in an impoverished town, we charge $17 for students who truly earned it, a cap and gown to graduate? I'm urging transparency and accountability. Please see it that the money these students raise that rightfully belongs to them is reimbursed as promised. Otherwise, it's considered stealing. In closing, I would like to state that the alumni who raised the $700 are hosting a senior send-off on August 13th at the Armory, open to the class of 23, as they want to make sure students know that there are adults here who keep their word and support them. The bottom line, I'll close with this. As educators, we are responsible for molding young minds, and all this administrative team has shown them is how to steal, lie, and break promises. They need to be better. Thank you guys for your time. I have copies and statements of the seniors that never got reimbursed for their cap and gowns. So I have statements. I'm hoping you're gonna take this from me. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you guys.
Are there any other citizens that would like to address the council on issues that are not on the agenda?
Good evening, new council.
State your name and address, please.
Kevin Buxton, 149 Everett Street. I'd like to start out by thanking the town manager's comments. During manager's comments, we sometimes forget that our mandatory recycling and the importance of all of our curbside program is important to our town, keeping us clean and healthy. I'm going to apologize for my last visit to the council. Today I'm on 22 days without a cigarette. That was about 19 days without a cigarette. Now I'll admit, I am glad I'm not smoking, but I am a bit crabby. So if I seemed a little hostile, I'm still working on it. But I'd like to get back into, as far as curbside advisory, you know, there's still a lot to be go through as far as billing goes. Billing now is going to be just in addition to the water and sewer bill, was the initial discussion. The enterprise fund, we have a grant to evaluate the enterprise fund. Everybody pretty much agrees the enterprise fund is a good idea because it isolates all the funds for that one specific item. Just with our water and sewer, it keeps the money in the water and sewer account. Curbside will do the same. I'd also like, while they're evaluating the enterprise fund, I'd like to make sure that our revenue sources are identified. The municipal lien process that needs to go through the town manager's office and the health department to establish that when a fine is given for a curbside violation, it actually goes on the property owner's tax lien. These are very important because we've, in the past, not having the municipal lien, just basically, if somebody doesn't pay it, somebody doesn't pay it. Very important. Those municipal liens, is a portion of that maybe should be going into the enterprise fund. I'll admit the municipal liens are going to be handed out by the health department. So could we go 50-50? 50% goes to the health department, 50% goes into the enterprise fund. I'm sorry we're not starting the enterprise fund earlier, sooner, because it would give us a jump start on the $3 million a year, $15 million over the course of 5 years. Our toters, there was some question as far as the ownership of the toters and everything. Originally, the original toter program was supposed to be a revolving account. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. A revolving account. The initial cost for the toters were paid for by the, I believe it was Mass DEP, and then the additional sale of those toters would go into the revolving account, which would buy more toters. I'm not sure. Somebody has to research that through the health department. It was an established process. That's how we ended up with our town toters. We also have to resolve the toter situation. If it was a situation where we were under the understanding that we own the toters and that influenced the RFP that went out, and the RFP that went out was based on false information that we own the toters, and then once the bids came back in, then it was informed that we were not owners of the recycling toters. That's a tricky situation to be in. It should have never happened in such a way because it was actually influencing the RFP. But that gets a little complicated. We also have to resolve this toter thing. Otherwise, 5 years from now, when we're going for another contract, guess what? If we haven't resolved the toters, we're in the same boat we are now. So I'd like to thank you for your time. Look forward to working with the new council. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on the Citizen Forum? To speak on issues that are not on the agenda? State your name and address.
John Pulaski, 87 Old North Woodstock Road. I've been doing a lot of thinking since you folks voted for that contract. There's a term that gets thrown around in council's due diligence. I don't doubt that you folks did your due diligence, but I've been doing obsessive diligence on that particular issue for 15 years. And something people don't realize, just like lawyers may understand a word differently than a person that isn't a lawyer, the waste management industry has a language, a nomenclature of its own. For example, the word closed. Our landfill, according to some of the DEP language at their website, which was updated in June of 2023, that wasn't that long ago, some of it says landfills are closed. Some of it says, like on Sundays, it changes during the day of the week. Every landfill in Massachusetts yesterday was closed. But even today, our landfill is not closed. It is inactive. And it states that it is still, keep in mind, when it was sealed up, according to the state, that has yet to be acknowledged. According to the state's website, updated last month, it's incomplete. Now, if you call the DEP and ask why it's incomplete, it's because based on the $125 a ton fee that is in the contract, that's $40 million worth of space. Now, the landfill, and I'm not suggesting anyone's being fraudulent. It's kind of like when people say there's fake news. It's not really fake news. It's important parts of the news aren't shared. It gives a different impression sometimes. But at least according to the DEP, our landfill can be opened up. It's not permanently closed. It's only closed. And the reason it's closed is because it's not accepting trash. But what I'm concerned about, having read the contract, it appears to me if that company wanted to, they could charge us $125.50 a ton to put landfill in our own, to put our waste into our landfill. Now, do they then go and give us the $9 or $8 that they paid us back as a sort of a rebate? I don't know, because I don't know what was agreed to by the council that gave away about $5 million worth of pickup, trash pickup, a few years back. You can't blame you folks for it. But I don't think these are unfair questions. I don't doubt, like Mr. Adams has mentioned, there's a lot of work that's gone into those curbside committees, but they were focusing on the curbside pickup. They weren't focusing on what is more expensive, which is when we throw the stuff away, where does it go? Does it go to get burned in Millbury? Does it go in our own backyard? Does it go to a big landfill in New Hampshire? I don't know. And another thing, I'd like to say amen to what Mr. Buxton shared tonight. As I remember it, the DEP paid for those toters, And as often happened, the town would put in the bid.
Could you hold for a minute? Could I have a motion to expend this time?
So moved.
We'll add 3 minutes.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor? Unanimous, all present. Go ahead, you have 10
Thank
more
you.
minutes.
The town would often, like for example, I upset someone, including the great late Mr. Vecchia. I went to a Worcester court myself to try to stop the town from borrowing $7 million for a pre-treatment leachate plant that was going to be put at the landfill. I took a lot of heat for it. Some people told me I was going to get sued. Fortunately, that was just talk. But in that case, we were going to borrow the money for that pre-leachate plant. And I felt strong going before this judge, not a lawyer, but he's very patient with me because that was a violation, if we did it, to the site assignment. It was a condition of the site assignment. So I felt strong enough to go up there and risk litigation. And for whatever reason, it was a number of reasons, not just what I did up in Worcester, the council in its wisdom decided not to borrow that $7 million. But a lot of agreements in the waste management industry are similar to that. On the trash, I can see where someone with a straight face can say, yep, those are our toters. That company, I wouldn't be surprised if they did all the paperwork. But it was the state, check with the state, it was the state that gave that grant to the town of Southbridge. And it was administered. And admittedly, there are mistakes. This same website that I'm telling you folks about, that anyone can find through Google, it could be imperfect. It says that Southbridge Recycling and Disposal Park owns our landfill. We own our landfill. Southbridge Recycling and Disposal Park is a subsidiary of the company that recently won the bid. So this is an old story, this landfill thing. It's supposedly like almost 15 years ago. To me, it's like 15 weeks ago. That wasn't an easy battle 15 years ago. And, you know, I'll say Casella, I think they pick up the waste on the curbside end. I have zero complaints about them picking up the waste. And even though things were pretty hot and heavy at one time, they've always been very respectful. Their engineers have always been patient with me. A councilor said I don't like them. Actually, I like almost all the people that work there. I just don't like them doing what I think this town did better than anybody I've seen in picking up waste. And that's when we picked it up ourselves, local men, now today it could be local men and women, could be picking that waste up. The trucks go for, you can get a used.
Time's expired,
okay, thank
John.
you. I've said enough. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. And Southbridge can move forward, and I hope it does.
Are there any other citizens that would like to speak on the citizen forum? Speak to any issues that are not on the agenda tonight.
Joseph Dow, 736 Worcester Street. I'd like to ask the council to hire an audit to the town manager's office. As a businessman and a resident of Southbridge, there's a lot of things going on in that office. A lot of things we don't know. A lot of things it wasn't either update the councilor, and I'd like to ask the council if we can hire an audit because we don't know what's going on behind that wall lately. Thank you. The last 3 years, for the last 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dow.
Kathy Lapriori, 51 Mark Avenue. I just want to start off by saying, you guys who don't usually come to the meetings all cheeked up, clean up pretty good. Okay. Now, to the speaker before who was talking about the money from the class of 2023, don't give up. Keep pursuing it. I had a meeting with Dr. Villar, and everybody in the world by now knows that I was kind of persistent in getting answers at that meeting, and you just keep fighting and don't give up on us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens who'd like to speak at this time? to any issues that are not on the agenda.
Good evening. Derek Julian, 331 High Street, Southbridge. I would like to welcome the new council members. Getting back to the roots that we used to have, speaking about the kids, we used to have alumni parades, we used to have bonfires. We were told years ago that we had to stop that. They started building their own little bonfire, which they don't do anymore. I believe that's something that should come back for the kids of this town. They looked forward to that, the football players, the cheerleaders, all the school kids. It was a big night at the field. It's something that should come back and be discussed. Another note, I've been to a lot of the meetings in town. I've been a citizen member of subcommittees. I was an auxiliary police officer in this town. I've seen a lot of things. I know our DPW just hired a new director. He's doing a fine job of getting things straightened out as he can, putting out the fires that have been started by others. Again, there was a lot of questions asked about the roads. The more I drive by these construction sites, the more I get disgusted at the way these contractors are taking advantage of our town. Again, on West Street, there is 8 or 9 holes that are left open with gravel at this moment. With all these heavy rains, all the dirt is washing into our infrastructure. Who's going to be responsible for cleaning that? Them or our DPW? Costing us more money. The shoddy work of the low bid is starting to come to fruition in this town, and it needs to be looked at better. I understand that we have some engineering firms that were hired for oversight, but I do believe back even when Hammer Clark was in town, that when we had engineering firms for oversight, he was also out there oversighting, or had somebody out there looking. I haven't seen that. Maybe with the new director, he has been, but I know with the past directors, they haven't, because I've gone and sit myself for hours and have not seen anybody go and look. The project on South Street, I'll tell you, I sat there for 6 hours one day. 6 hours. And I watched how they backfilled. Backfill wasn't proper. I brought it up at subcommittee. Heather said, oh, the cars compact the trenches. You're gonna tell me that a lateral is compacted by cars? You're not gonna tell me that. I've been in the business all my life. Our roads need to be looked at better. Please, 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 get people in there that are gonna do this and direct our director to make sure it happens. Thank you.
Any other citizens that would like to speak to the council, or address the council, I should say, to any items not on the agenda? If not, we'll move on. Number 9, discuss and accept the town rules and regulations. For a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Montague, you have a second.
Second is motion by Adams.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We look like each other.
Councilor Adams is the motion, second by Montague. Discussion. Councilor Montague.
Thank you. I'd like to make another motion to refer this back to subcommittee so we can discuss it at the General Government Subcommittee.
There's a motion on the floor to refer back to general government. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe Dow. Discussion on the motion to refer. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking at the, just making sure we're doing it properly here. Under rule number 23, Southbridge Town Council rules and regulations shall be discussed, reviewed, and voted on for accuracy at the first regularly scheduled town council meeting annually. This is the first meeting. So if we want to change that throughout the year, absolutely. I agree with it, but I will be voting no based on our rules and regulations that we're following tonight. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I just couldn't hear. Councilor Adams.
Couldn't hear me? Holy cow. Oops. They got a problem with the mics. All right. I'd vote no on that tonight, based on the fact that under rule number 23 that we just voted on as a council, it states the Southbridge Town Council rules and regulations shall be discussed, reviewed, and voted on for accuracy at the first regularly scheduled town council meeting annually. That's what it states. That's what we voted on, and that's why I'd vote no tonight on that one.
Thank you.
Councilor Rivas, are you all set?
Yes, thank you.
Councilor Montague.
Thank you very much. Well, we are discussing it and we're reviewing it, and the vote could potentially be to vote to refer it to subcommittee. So my interpretation, as most of these rules, including the charter, is all interpretation. I am interpreting that if it does get referred back to subcommittee, that we've done our job according to that new law at the very end of the rules and regs. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I do, yeah.
Councilor Adams?
So what I would recommend is the general gov can take this up after we vote this evening on it. Can take this up throughout the year, because I do think we have some from censorship that we talked about. I just got some information from the town manager to add into here, and some probably other changes that need to happen. That's what general gov does throughout the year. Should be reviewing this and say, hey, let's take a look at this and maybe change it up. The whole purpose behind this also was to make sure that the new counselors come on board and they read the rules and regulations, so they actually know that we do have rules and regulations here, and that we take a look at it and we vote on it.
Any further discussion? Councilor Shenya.
Mr. Chairman, if this got voted down tonight, so the rules and regulation dies, am I right? If this was, it says discuss, accept the town council rules and regulations. So if we vote not to accept, the whole rules and regulation dies in committee. Am I, or dies
no.
here, is it?
Excuse me, Councilor Shenya, just through the chair. I understand what the councilors are talking about. What happens is, in past practice, we will always go by what regulations are there. Even if they vote to refer, it's not a vote to kill it, it's a vote to refer it. So, but I also understand Councilor Adams, accept it and then refer it, and then work on it. Either way it works for me. You know, I'm not ruling it out of what I'm just saying. You're doing it in a different manner, but I don't think it's, I don't think either way is wrong. Any other discussion? If no further discussion, roll call.
Councillor Adams.
No.
Councillor Chenier.
Yes.
Councillor Daniel.
No.
Councillor Dow.
Yes.
Councillor Lazo.
Yes.
Councillor Marquetti.
Yes.
Councillor Montigny.
Yes.
Councillor Ortiz.
Yes.
Councillor Rivas.
No.
It will be referred to general government. Moving on to agenda item number 10, vote to approve entering into an agreement with Franklin Realty Associates for the easement at 515 K Street parking lot to allow pedestrians and bicyclists access on and off the Quinnebog Valley Rail Trail east of the Rotary. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Motion by Montigny,
Second.
seconded by Dow. Discussion. Council Montigny.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to whoever would like to answer this. Councilor Adams mentioned something about a time constraint. I was just looking for an explanation on that so I can properly understand this.
Good evening, Council, new Council. Everybody, welcome to the newest members, and congratulations, Chair, Vice Chair. I bring this agenda item to you. It is one of the items we need to be able to go forward with the EDA package, which needs to be presented to them as soon as possible so that they have ample time to be able to review and approve the design, the bid package, the title in good standing, which our attorney needs to certify, which states our easement accesses are recorded, approved, our lease is approved, etc. All these pieces go into this package, goes to the EDA. Once they've approved it, only then can we go out to bid. We're supposed to be in construction by the end of October. So all of these technical pieces are imperative to getting to construction. The attorney, Katie Klein, has been working with Franklin Realty Associates since the beginning, mid-June, to be able to come up with an easement agreement together. They were waiting for our designers to come up with the easement drawing. So they drafted the agreement. We provided the easement plan that came through. BSC Group, unfortunately, wasn't able to provide that design until after June 30, which is when I wanted to have it, to be able to bring it sooner. And so here I am in the 11th hour, trying to bring this very important piece to the puzzle to the Town Council for approval. You have in your packet the easement image. It shows, so I guess it'd be looking from east to west, or vice versa. It's west to east, right? So you'll see the easement on the bottom of the picture, and that comes from, if you can picture the rail trail across the street from 515 Case Street in the parking lot. We have to, according to the EDA grant, have a rail trail from end to end. Because we can't afford to do our it would probably cost us a little less than $2 million to do the bridge over Main Street. Because we can't go forward with the bridge over Main Street yet, we need to have a way down to the Rotary and then a way back up. So the way back up will come in behind Dresser Memorial, Dresser Housing. On the east side, we're proposing this access. And so it will wrap around the eastern part of the parking lot. It will not interfere with their construction of the parking lot in the future. And it is pretty much called out in the agreement what is and isn't allowed. We would be responsible for signage and for maintenance, et cetera. So I hope at this time the council would consider voting.
Thank you, again, through the chairman to you. I guess I should have been a little more clear with my question. I'm just wondering, when is the last possible date for this? It sounds like this is the last piece that you need in order to go out to bid, but I'm just trying to figure out, does it need to be approved by today's meeting, or the whole deal falls apart? Is it July 24th, August 7th, August 21st? Which one of these meetings, if you don't mind?
If I may, through you, Chair, there is no boogeyman. There is no drop dead. This is us trying to hedge our bets as early as possible. I wanted to get the package into the EDA by June 30. We're now at 7/10. Yes, this is the last piece for the Town Council to approve. We're waiting for the final bid package back from BSC Group. We're waiting for the lease to get executed by MassDOT, and we believe that that will probably take the longest. The EDA has said if you submit everything else minus a fully executed contract from the Rail Division, then they can start reviewing it. And so this title in good standing, this piece is part of the title in good standing that is required immediately with the bid package to show that, yes, we have access to the pieces we need.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to refer this back to Planning and Development Subcommittee.
Before you do that, let me recognize Joe Dow.
Okay.
He had his hand up.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Through
Councilor
you.
Dow.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. Small question. I mean, when you say the Rotary, the plan, I can't read exactly where the easement is going on. I mean, it doesn't look clear. I mean, if you look at it, it doesn't show me any description correctly near the Rotary, on the Rotary, after, before. It doesn't look clear. I don't know if you have something we can see and little explanation. It's next to the where exactly going, like, you know, because you say go through the Rotary. So thank you.
If I may, through you, Chair, I don't have an image, but if I could describe, if you're in the parking lot across the street from 515 Case Street, right, the new Southbridge Mills apartments. They have the parking lot farthest to the right that's being used right now that has some spaces, and then you'll notice that there's a lot of extra parking lot off to the left that's unused, unconstructed right now. This easement is on the farthest left-hand side of that parking lot. It will come down from the rail trail. It will kind of skirt around that edge of the left-hand edge of the parking lot and come down onto East Main Street, right there.
Continue, Chair. So if we approve that today, what we're giving them for help to do that parking lot, is that something we provide through the grant to them, or no, we're just giving them easement and they're gonna pay for the parking lot and fix everything?
If I may, through you, Chair, this is actually them giving us the access to be able to come down from the rail trail onto East Main Street. So they are doing us the service of allowing us to be able to access any public is allowed to use that access. It is completely discrete from their parking lot project and construction. It obligates us to no funding for their parking lot.
One more question, Chair, to you. So our residents, they're allowed to park in their parking lot and access the rail trail from theirs?
No.
As well, you can exit, you can enter, or no, just exit?
This is not...
I don't know if you understand my question.
I do.
Like they can go park there and go on a trail from there on their property, or no?
if I may, through you, Chair, this is not a parking lot service to the town. This is strictly an easement for on and off. It is strictly for us to be able to meet the EDA requirements that say we have to have this bona fide trail end to end. If we were to keep going past the Morris Street Bridge, you'll come to an overlook, and it will end there. And then you can turn around and you can go back. We need a way to be able to come down, go around the rotary, and then get back on the trail on the other side of the rotary to be able to meet the EDA requirements. And so this will allow us to do so.
Sorry, Chair. It was discussed as going to build a bridge over the old bridge to continue the trail from there, and then they go down at the rotary. Supposed to be like that? Well, last time I think I understood they're going to put a bridge there over the old bridge we have.
If I may, through you, Chair, I don't know if you'd want to refer back to the BSC group design presentation in May where they outlined all of this. So they discussed at that time that they were going to be going down at this location, and then that they would be going from that location, from that location you could be on road, and that will, I could get more into it. From that on road, we're going to be using the MassWorks grant to be able to use a shared path along the right side of the road in front of the AO, and you go around the rotary and you get back on the other side of the street. If you'll remember, BSC Group outlined that they're going to be doing over the Morris Street Bridge, and then it will end at an overlook right there. And then when we have the opportunity to build a $2 million bridge in the future that goes over Main Street, then we will do that. And I'm working diligently right now on that funding piece for the future. But in the meantime, for us to be able to make an end-to-end bridge without this larger bridge over Main Street Rotary, we need to come up with solutions like this.
I agree with you, but I don't understand. Last time when gentleman, he was here, explained it to us. It was a bridge is going to be over the older bridge, and it will go down before the rotary and continue there. Now, what's changed? So now, I'm not sure if I understood you right. It's something changed. I wasn't there. I'm not sure, because you say $2 million is supposed to be what we have for a grant is enough to build another bridge above the older one. Like this, we don't have to remove anything or touch anything. So I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think my memory is not too old yet. I'm only and a half age.
This is why things go to subcommittee. And in this upcoming year, the bond's not going to be on fire anymore with these projects. And I think what has to happen is we need a better coordination of bringing it to subcommittee and have this discussion instead of 3-hour council meetings. Councilor Shinya had his hand up.
Hey, just one question is, how long has the town known about needing this easement?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
How long has the town known that it needed this easement?
I've been working with Katie Klein since the beginning or mid-June to, she's been clarifying with me what the needs are. So if I could, through you, Chair, if I could just give you a little bit of background on the day-to-day. So I think I had emailed the town council and the town manager, the chair, the P&W, or Planning and Development Subcommittee chair, early in June with the indication that I had this agenda item. And I am doing everything in my power to try to move these projects along. I understand that you feel vehemently, towards your subcommittee agenda and that you want to be able to hash things out there. But I just wonder if, on a day-to-day, when you see us trying so hard to get projects through, whether you can't put aside your new priority of making sure everything gets hatched out there, and consider the work of the people who, I'm not someone who's threatening a new job. I'm not someone who's asking for anything unrealistic. I'm somebody who's been working day to day for 4.5 years, and I have made it my priority to try to get projects done for you. And then when I come in front of you like this, I feel like it's an opportunity for politics to take reign, for you to prove your point that it's got to go through subcommittee first. I'm not in town on the 24th. I tried to get this through in June, but I wasn't ready because the attorneys didn't have the agreement done, because I didn't have an easement from a designer. I'm doing everything in my power to try to give you a rail trail. I just ask that you remember, if for some reason this falls apart, I have tried to come to you with exceptions.
We will try and do a better job, but I think your statement was out of order about power and politics. Communication doesn't cost anything. I would love to keep communicating, and maybe in the upcoming year we can get stuff into the chute and onto the floor, into the subcommittee. But right now, I'm just saying, you know, every single town council meeting, the bond's on fire, hurry up. Maybe we need to check ourselves on our management skills. Any other discussion on this main motion?
I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Dean. Appreciate it.
Any other discussion on the main motion? Go ahead.
On the main motion, I would just like to say I think it was very clear that my comments anyway, can't speak for everybody else, but I feel like the council was directing any sort of miscommunication towards the subcommittee. I don't recall anybody ever saying anything about the previous speaker at the podium. Great job on everything with that project. I would still like to make a motion to refer if possible.
The motion by Councilor Montague, seconded by Councilor, Councilor Marquetti. I did first. Discussion on the motion to refer to subcommittee.
I'm sorry, which subcommittee?
Planning and Development.
Planning and Development. I would just like to ask the councilors, if there is not enough information that was presented to us, then refer. If you have enough information from what we heard, then approve it. I just think that I want to try and curb some of these things that we do. It's not that she does a bad job. She's an Energizer bunny for the town of Southbridge. She's a hard worker, and she does a lot for the town of Southbridge from her office. But the bond on fire has got to come to an end. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. It seems like, you know, I always support Mrs. D. She's doing a great job for the town. All these projects, she's being, you know, get it approved and all these grants, and nobody discussed or questioned her loyalty to the town or the work she do. But I think we still have a job to do to ask questions to make sure we all understand what we're going to vote on or not. And I feel like every time we speak, this is not only for a specific person. This is for a lot of people lately coming up in here and saying, power, power, power. Why? Because we're saying the truth. So when we say the truth or we ask questions.
State your point of order.
Not even talking about the agenda item, or the amendment, or anything else here. We're talking about crap. Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say, point of clarification, our grant writer called us out, and she's the one that stated that it was power and politics, which then spurs a councilor to answer her claim, which I do not think is out of order. So, continue, Mr. Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I mean, I hope I make it clear to the public. We're not here to show any power. We're here to move the town forward and do the best for the citizen of Southbridge. Thank you.
Any other discussion on motion to refer? Council, excuse me, Charlie.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. You know, I've really been in the town here since the end of February and so forth, and I've been trying to get caught up on all these many projects that you have. And this is one in particular that has a lot of components to it. This rail trail is a really, big item. There's a lot of components to it. There's a lot of things that have to happen. And one of the first things that came up on this several weeks ago, just before that June meeting, was that we did need to have a more direct access from Main Street up onto the trail. And, when Peg started working on this with the group that owns that, property and that parking lot that she explained, the first question is whether or not they would even allow that. And so we had to go through town council. Town council had to spend a lot of time on this. making sure that it could be cleared with Mass DOT, with the rail and everything else that's involved in this project. And what we're really talking about is a very simple access from the rail trail across the edge of that parking lot down to Main Street. That's all it really is. It's unfortunate that it took this much time and effort to, get those documents in place and get a document that could be reached, the agreement, both the property owner and the other parties that are involved in this thing. So I understand, the importance of the subcommittees in the way the town here is governed. I don't think that Ms. Dean actually meant it as a political thing, other than more of the very stated comment that you had earlier, that you do want to have a bigger role for the subcommittees, you want to have more information on them and so forth. So I don't think it was trying to challenge the decision. It was really just trying to say that we do need this approved. We need this approved now so that we don't hold up the project and we get forward and be able to go out for bid. Because as she said, part of the grant requirement is to have it under construction by the end of October. So I would really encourage the council to go along and understand that this easement is very simple. It's what we need. It's what's approved. It's not going to cost the town anything. And I believe that it would be something that, really doesn't need to go onto the subcommittee at this point.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. The issue here is some councilors still have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions about it as well. Personally, I think it's a little dangerous to have people with a disability coming down to the rotary and trying to cross right there. So it's a blind spot. I think we've got to look at it, come up with a better idea. So I'm going to support referring it. Thank you.
Any further discussion by council before I open up to the public? Councilor Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I'll be voting no on referring back to committee. It's been my experience in working with PEG on a variety of grants and grant applications, a wide variety of grant applications, that when she says it's blue, it's blue. And I have no reason to think that things have changed at this point. I certainly understand the point that the chair is making regarding fires in the council, and I agree that perhaps that needs to be looked at. However, for this particular item, I don't believe that there's a fire, but I believe that the department head has stated her case in terms of why it should be done now, and I will vote not to refer and instead vote positively to approve this if it becomes a main motion again. Thank you.
Any other discussion by council before I turn over to the public? Jasmine.
I also think, this is a really important project in our community, and Ms. Dean always does her due diligence. She tries to get everything in order as soon as she can to go to a subcommittee. And I do think, as the town manager explained, we have opportunities to ask questions via email to the town manager before we come here on a Monday night. And it's something that it is important. It's really a simple easement that the company is giving us. They're doing us a favor so that this project can move along. It is complicated. There are lots of moving parts, and it is important for us to keep this project moving along. So I will also be voting no.
Any councilors? If not, the public? State your name and address. 3 minutes.
Kevin Buxton, 149 Everett Street. I'm also a vice chairman of the Trail Committee, and I've been following this process since I came back after COVID. I want to see this project move forward. If, for whatever reason, you decide to put it back in subcommittee, I compliment the chair on having the foresight of assigning chairs for the subcommittees, and if you do refer it back to subcommittee, all I want is a time and date, because I will be there. I've been there right along. I would like to see the council move this forward without sending it back to subcommittee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. State your name and address. 3 minutes.
John Pulaski, 87 Old North Woodstock Road. Real quickly, for people out in the viewing audience, I don't think they're aware of how hot it is in here. And there's some emotional, I think some people might tend to be a little more emotional than they would if it was warmer. There may have been some misunderstanding, but I hope that you can have your cake and eat it too. Approve the easement. This very trustworthy town employee does her homework, and I don't think they get compensated for the extra time they spend at meetings, but I bet you she'd show up and answer any questions at a subcommittee meeting, and you could help her proceed. I don't think she would, I don't know her really well, but I've noticed that she probably wouldn't have asked for this to be on agenda tonight if she didn't need it to get back to business, because I know she's spinning a lot of plates and bringing in the grants, and I don't know for certain, but I bet there isn't an employee in the town system that is bringing back her paycheck more than that particular town
Can you
employee.
please stick to the agenda item? It's not a personality thing.
Oh,
The
it
agenda item, motion to refer or not to refer. You're going off on a judgment on the person.
Well, I'm not going any judgment.
The motion, what's in front of us right now is a motion to refer to subcommittee. Speak to the referral, yes or no, and why.
Thank you for the specific, I was really asking, and if it's possible to do it, can you do both? Can you have a subcommittee meeting, but vote in favor of this tonight? I guess what you're asking me is to not go before the subcommittee, and if you want to have a meeting to ask questions, that would be a separate thing, but I bet you could answer the questions. Those that want a subcommittee meeting, you could probably do both.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to refer? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of referring? Not to refer? 6 to 3.
Motion passes.
Moving on to Council's Forum. Ladies before gentlemen, we'll start with seat number 7. Councilor Rivas.
Thank you. So I want to just talk about an event that is coming up this weekend at Old Southbridge Village that includes some of our Old Southbridge Academy students. One of them, who is from Southbridge, are playing the lead roles. It is called Not So New Englanders, and it will be on Saturday and Sunday, starting at 5 p.m. at the Stephen Brewer Theater. Tickets for members are $10 and $12 for the general public. Please come see our students perform. And there's a little bit of Southbridge history connected to this play. We're going to talk about Ruth Wells, one of our founders of the village, and Mr. Robert Brown, who wrote the book New Englanders, was part of the inspiration for this play. So come see a little bit of Southbridge history and some of our students performing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I want to say congratulations to Councilor Ortiz and Councilor Shania. Welcome on
Thank
board.
you.
Hopefully, the next 3 years we can work together and move forward with Southbridge better from all of us. I want to say thank you for the DPW today. They was prepared. They went all over the water catch base. They clean them up, and they did a great job when we got hit with the storm after Noor. It's amazing, like no flooded anywhere. Was everything ahead of the games. I want to say thank you to the DPW workers.
Councilor Shania.
Yes, first I'd like to just thank everyone out there that voted for me and put their trust in me and hopefully doing the right thing for our community. The second thing I have tonight is about a reconsideration. Unlike a motion to reconsider, which only needs a majority vote to pass, a motion to rescind is more of a challenge. In order to rescind something previously adopted by a majority vote, the board must have received notice of the intent to present such a motion either at a previous meeting or with the call of the meeting. If that pre-meeting notice does not occur, then the vote required to rescind is 2/3 of those present in voting or majority of the entire membership of an organization. A motion to rescind can be introduced at any time when no other business is pending. After being recognized by the chair, a member makes the motion to rescind. The motion should include a description or reference to the decision in question. The chair restates the motion to rescind and asks for debate. During debate, any member may propose amendments. After full debate, the vote is taken on rescinding the motion. So, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to give council notice that I will make a motion at the next regular meeting to rescind the action of the Town Council meeting of April 24th, 2023, item number 18. Vote to approve $50,000 in ARPA funds to pay study of town positions. The distribution of such funds will be overseen by the town administrator. I would also like to suggest that I believe the bid is scheduled to be opened on the 14th of this month, and I would suggest that the bid opening be delayed until after this regular council meeting to see where the order to rescind goes. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and I look forward to working with council this year.
Councilor Montague.
Thank you very much. I would like to congratulate again Councilor Dow, Councilor Ortiz, Councilor Chenier on a job well done this spring, and I'm happy to be serving with you all. I think the only thing I have is the Little League, I believe, is putting on a cornhole tournament this weekend. I'm sorry if someone already mentioned that, but I believe you have to be there at 11 or 12. You can find information all over the web on this, but the Little League has been doing a lot of work this year to raise funds for extra donations. So cornhole's a great way to do that on the town common. I don't know what the weather's like, but thanks everybody. I'm looking forward to a good year. Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So I do wish Adriana and Rachel, who resigned today as our assessor and as our HR director, I wish them nothing but the best. I appreciate working with them, especially during tough times, especially when we start working on curbside now, as I know Rachel was instrumental in working on that. And the fact that it's March, we'll be, at that point in time, paying for our own trash pickups. I want to congratulate Councilor Dow, Chenier, and Ortiz on your election once again. I look forward to working with you guys. I'm sorry to see that the chair doesn't want to do a finance committee yet again, but I understand where he's coming from on certain things. An absolutely atrocity that happened parts of this year, even though we had very good members, citizens members on that committee. For the DPW, just to let you know, I plan on having a meeting on the 19th. That's already set up to do subcommittee members, the citizens members, and I do expect that the chair and the vice chair this year stick to exactly what they're saying about the subcommittees, because that wasn't what I saw last week when I looked at the agenda. So I'm hoping to see that move forward properly. I just wanted to mention to the chair that Ms. Sue over here will not be here on Wednesday for previous obligations. So I have no problem doing the roll call if you would like me to do that on that evening. I'm looking forward to the constant movement that we have. I'm looking forward to getting everything through the charter and the cable access. The charter that we voted on this year, and now it's obviously going through the our state representatives. That should be done very soon. So I look forward to taking a vote on that very soon. And I will have a transfer motion to the general gov, which will be basically a very carte blanche as far as transfers are concerned, and I'll let the general gov work that thing out. I do have a question for the chair real quick. When we're talking about, you mentioned earlier today about if it's voted down by the subcommittee, that includes the budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Then I think that's it. Oh, I will be resigning from the CMRPC and CMMPO role for the town. I've been doing it for 5 years. And I will say, and I'll send that to the chair. And the chair is, just so you know, this is where we found out that the tip was delayed by a year. And if we wouldn't have reacted, and Ms. Dean hadn't reacted in the time that we did, we may have lost the entire tip for all these projects that were happening. So, because we had such a gap in our town staff. And I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Councilor Ortiz.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Councilor Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I'd like to offer my thanks again to Reverend Sabina Terradas from the First United Methodist Church of Southbridge. She's very proud of saying that it's the oldest church in Southbridge, and for those who aren't familiar with it, it's the other church on Main Street Hill, across the street from the big church, and it's between Dunkin' Donuts and Walgreens. The church is a very busy and active church for the citizens of Southbridge. They offer free meals on Fridays at 5 p.m. They have a food pantry. They have a clothing closet, which is essentially a food pantry for clothing for all people, along with hygiene products, sleeping bags, tops, etc. They have Thanksgiving dinners every year. They have Christmas dinners every year. They're community-driven holiday parties. When it's cold out, when it's very cold out, they have overnight warming centers that they keep those who are less fortunate warm and safe, and they offer help to those who are suffering from addiction. If you have any information that you'd like to get on any of those programs, for more information you can call 508-764-6501. That's 508-764-6501. And one last time, thank you very much, Pastor Terradas. You did a wonderful job tonight. I received this thank you note, and I'll just read it, and it'll explain itself. Dear Chairman Daniel, on behalf of the Southbridge pickleball players, I would like to acknowledge the Town of Southbridge DPW for a job perfectly done. Under the direction of Richard Benoit and Glenn Ethier, the DPW recently painted 4 new pickleball courts off of Charlton Street in Southbridge. The entire DPW team was professional, patient, and accommodating, and went above and beyond our expectations in helping us with this project. We are very lucky to have such a great DPW in this town, and their efforts on our behalf are appreciated more than I could ever say. Thanks for all you do, and I hope to see you on the courts. Signed by Kerry Varon and the Southbridge pickleball players. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 12, discussion of next meeting day. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Before we go to that, I would just like to thank the council for electing me as vice chairman. That's all right. No big deal. And I think moving forward, I really would like to see us work together as a team. I really have nothing personal against anybody up here. I respect everybody's opinion. I always try to respect the minority's opinion, but I also respect the majority's vote as well. So I look forward to working with the new council, and let's move forward, get some things done this year. I'd like to get a lot of things accomplished in this year. It's been quite a change from the times when I was doing cartoons to now I'm sitting up here as vice chairman of the council. It just amazes me how things can change like that. The other thing that I would like to say to the town manager is that I've had some people say that they've gone down to West Street and they don't see any work being done down there at all. They'd like to know what's going on. We did vote to delay that project, and they'd like to know why we delayed it if they're not going to even work on it at all. And I've also had some people call me up on Gulfwood Road who say that they've tried to contact the DPW director and about some large potholes and haven't gotten any feedback from him at all. So if you could look into that, I would appreciate that, as well as Hudson Avenue and Gardner as well. There were some people on Gardner that are having some major pothole problems. But other than that, thank you. I look forward to working with everyone. Our next meeting will be Monday, July 24th, 2023 in the council chamber. And then there will also be a meeting this Wednesday, July 12th, right here. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Senior, seconded by Councilor Dow. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Very good. Congratulations on your...